An ex-psychic who spent decades steeped in the occult is warning about the glorification of evil that often comes with the Halloween season. She's also warning about engaging in Ouija boards, tarot cards, and other tools of divination. We're going to get into that and more on today's show. But this topic of Halloween, Nair, it's a big topic for Christians this time of year. There's a lot of debate around it when it comes to whether or not Christians should celebrate it. What goes through your heart and mind on this topic?
Well, not just this year. I feel like this has been an escalating thing where Christians are becoming more and more discerning, being like, wait a second, especially with these decorations everywhere, decorations, if you want to call them that. I mean, what used to be like a pumpkin and maybe a skeleton has become, I mean, there's just horror movies. I mean, explicit, graphic. I mean, in my neighborhood, there's heads chopped off. There's these like little demon things everywhere, like Satan looking beast. I mean, everywhere. There's not just like one creepy guy down the street. I mean, it's literally every other street. My children, who I have 3 boys, 6 and under, have to walk by horror movies in 3D as they go, down the street to ride their bikes. But I think this wasn't what's important. And I don't care if this steps on toes. I think we have to realize, okay, the origins of Halloween, All Hallows Eve, it doesn't matter. I think what Halloween is right now is clearly a demonic thing. And I know there's a lot of Christians who don't want to talk about the spiritual realities that we're dealing with. But I think it's important that in 1 Corinthians, let's see if Paul talks about demons. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, starting in verse 20. But the sacrifice of pagans are offered to demons, not to God. I don't want you to be ignorant to be participants with demons. You cannot drink from the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons. 2, you cannot have both part in the Lord's table and the table of demons. I mean, we're talking about 4 mentions of the word demons. And here's the thing. Yes, the blood of Yeshua covers us all. And the blood of the Lamb is way more powerful than the interactions of demons. But if we intentionally open the door to demonic activity and say, you know what, I'm going to just throw my kids into the deep end of the demonic dark world, they're going to be like, all right, cool. And I think we as parents need to be discerning. And I think this conversation is happening more and more and more. Billy, at least I'm saying, where Christians are like, hold on, this isn't even trying to be hocus pocus. I mean, this is explicit, dark, demonic horror movie stuff now. And so I think it's becoming clearer and clearer to those who are discerning by the Holy Spirit that something is very wrong with the way that America does Halloween.
Well, to your point, what's really interesting, I was just saying this to my wife and some friends the other day. It feels like the way that Christmas is done, right? With lights, and it's crazy, and it's, we love it and it's fun. That's how Halloween is being treated, right? People are putting lights up. I mean, I'm seeing this in my neighborhood more than I ever have the last couple of years. Those giant, terrifying skeletons, right? All these images that you were referring to, this stuff is way more prevalent in people's yards than it was when I was a kid. And so you have to make a decision whether you're a Christian who, quote unquote, celebrates Halloween or not. How are you going to present this to your kids, right? What are you going to say? What is it going to look like? That is something you have to think about in light of the verses that you just read. And, we're going to toss to a clip here in just a minute, but this ex-psychic, Jenn Nizza, who I mentioned, we've had her on many times before. She was a psychic medium from the time she was 13 years old until she was about 37 years old. She was a professional psychic. She worked in this world until she became a Christian. And when you ask her what the biggest fear she has right now, the thing that has her the most worried in culture, she has something very interesting to say. So we're going to toss to that clip right now of Jenn Nizza. When you look at the culture right now, what most concerns you?
Our culture is so plagued, and you know how I feel about it all the time, but I think my biggest concern would be social media, making the occult, making the New Age so accessible, and the illusion of it, attacking the youth, coming for the youth. Crystals and manifesting are huge on Instagram, huge. Then you have TikTok, where you have a tarot card reader, a psychic medium, right at the click of a button. You can even just scroll and watch them. They do lives. They go on there and they do lives. They do live readings. Then you have the music industry coming out here, and Satan is just putting it right in everybody's face. It's right there, attacking the kids, the Grammy shows, the Olympics. Sorry, I said it. Sorry, not sorry, but it's out there.
So Raj, she made a really interesting point in that, right? She was talking more broadly about kids, the targeting of children with the occult in stores, with products, that this is the thing on social media, right? That on TikTok, that is the thing that has her most concerned. We're talking about Halloween in context of that. Halloween is a kid's holiday. They go and they get candy. It is interesting that it seems the occult is always going after, the demonic is always going after children, trying to capture their attention and intrigue. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a perfect strategy, right? And I think it's not just that I have an issue, or you, Billy, or my friend here watching have an issue with these practices. I mean, let's look at Deuteronomy, right? Deuteronomy 18. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. So what are these detestable ways that God's talking about? Well, he goes on. Let no one found among you be sacrificing their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium, or a spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. I mean, this is serious stuff. And I know it's really easy to sweep under the rug the spiritual realities that we're dealing with, but this is like top of the line order for God to reject this garbage and to invite the kingdom of heaven into these dark spaces. And so to me, it's not that these things have power over us. It's not that these things compete with Yeshua. Of course not. But if we say, you know what, I'm going to ignore what this book says and just welcome this stuff in. Tarot cards, who cares? Like, it's a little hocus pocus. It's like, no. This is in God's systems. This is really serious stuff. So we need to be protecting ourselves and protecting our kids.
Yeah, I love that. And as a final word, I will say, I love that you read that, because it's not saying the Bible, this isn't real, this isn't true. It is saying it is real, it is true. Do not do it, avoid it. It is horrific, it is evil, it is counter to God. And that is the message that we need to take to our children. We need to protect them from these elements, these things that we know are dangerous. Do not let culture lie to them, or social media lie to them, and say that it is safe to do any of these things. It opens doors you do not want to open.